Europe, 70 million years ago. On a steamy tropical day, a dinosaur heads for the breeding ground. The journey is perilous. For millions of years, volcanoes from a crack in the Earth's crust have been pouring lava into what is now the Atlantic Ocean, building an underwater ridge and creating an ocean. Sea level is 80 feet higher than today, and swamps cover much of Europe's coastal plain. The weather is hot and humid. Vegetation is lush, and food is plenty. But the dinosaur is wary. Her worst nightmare is nearby, stalking her. A whirlwind of powerful legs and slashing claws will bring her down in seconds. This time, she barely escapes. Her belly swollen with new life, she makes her way to the nesting site, the same one where she was born, and her mother before. Here she will lay her eggs in the hope that her species will survive. 70 million years later, the primeval swamp would give way to vineyards and the walls of medieval Carcassonne in the south of France. From the 12th century fortress, one of today's foremost French paleontologists sets out to try to solve a mystery posed nearly 150 years ago. Here in the upper valley of the Aude, the river has carved its way through the foothills of the Pyrenees, revealing coarse red gravel and mud deposited in prehistoric times. Today, the valley is littered with fossils, but it's the mystery surrounding the nearby village of Rennes Le Chateau that lures visitors. Here, a century ago, a poor parish priest built a lavish citadel, kindling rumors of a fabled treasure belonging to the Templar Knights. Even now, tales of hidden riches and the occult at Rennes Le Chateau circulate on the internet. But for paleontologist Eric Bouffetot, the real treasure lies buried in the gravel just below the church, the same sediments in which a local priest, Jean-Jacques Puech, discovered some unusual fragments 150 years ago. The most remarkable are eggshell fragments of very great dimension, Puech wrote in 1859. Their constant thickness between two perfectly parallel surfaces, their fibrous structure, and especially their regular curvature, definitely suggest that they are enormous eggshells, at least 4 times the volume of ostrich eggs.
Those tiny eggshell fragments are exactly similar to what Jean-Jacques Puech found back in the 1850s, and he was the first person ever to find and identify fossil eggs.
The priest not only found the first dinosaur eggs, he'd also stumbled on one of the largest nesting sites in the world.
The way they are tells us a few things about the nesting patterns, and with several layers, which suggest that the eggs were not just laid on the ground, but that the mother excavated some depression in the ground before she laid the eggs. animals like crocodiles, for instance, who build kinds of nests for their eggs.
Of the hundreds of eggs that have been uncovered, all are broken, suggesting they'd hatched, but no one knows what creature laid them. 70 million years ago, this land surrounding Carcassonne and Rennes Le Chateau was populated by dinosaurs living in a tropical delta. Here, a primeval river laden with silt came to a sluggish halt. But in times of flood, it swelled, catching the dinosaurs off guard. It swept them downstream to a tragic, watery death, and then deposited their bodies on the muddy banks. Today, their bones are marked by green lines representing several years of accumulation. The site is spectacular. Dinosaurs of every kind are entombed here, one on top of the other. But the mystery remains, what laid the eggs? 4 different species are commonly found in the region. Large plant eaters called titanosaurs are so abundant they've been nicknamed the dinosaurs of the Vineyard of Ode. The most prevalent was Amplisaurus, 30 feet tall and 50 feet long. It weighed a ton, but its most striking feature was armor-plated shoulder blade. Another candidate, Struthosaurus, was also armor-plated, but smaller. Their arch-rival was Tarascosaurus, a vicious meat-eater 16 feet long with a mouthful of jagged, double-edged teeth. But dinosaurs weren't the only egg layers around 70 million years ago.
Besides dinosaurs, we also found remains of very large birds, such as the pelvis here, of a bird that was about the size of an ostrich. And of course, the birds must have laid eggs, big eggs, so that makes it a bit difficult for us.
At Eric's lab, a technician delicately probes the fossilized contents of an egg recovered almost intact from the dig. He's looking for the remains of an embryo, the only way to find out which dinosaur laid the egg. Embryos are extremely hard to find, and for Eric Bouffetot, today is no exception. Eric's wait for his first dinosaur embryo must continue. But in 1988, when rocks cascaded down a hillside 800 miles away in a remote area near Hatay in central Romania, it was Dan Grigorescu of Bucharest University's lucky day. The landslide exposed a nest containing 16 giant eggs. In prehistoric times, the nest lay on the shore of a tropical lake. Here, driven by instinct, a pregnant dinosaur returned to the place where she was born to drop her clutch of eggs. But before her tiny offspring could hatch, an unseasonal flood drowned the nest, burying the eggs in the sediment that would preserve them. To avoid damaging the eggs, Grigorescu used a CAT scan to peer inside. There he saw something his French colleague Eric Bouffetot would give his eye teeth to see: the barely formed embryo of a dinosaur, curled up undisturbed for over 70 million years. It was Telnatosaurus, a primitive plant eater common to Romania that would have grown up to 14 feet long. It weighed a ton and had a set of grinding teeth. But there was more. Grigorescu had also found the tiny remains of several infant dinosaurs. While examining their thigh bones, he noticed a change in the structure of their legs in the first days after hatching.
This suggests to us that hatchlings were kept in the nest till the bone characters developed enough to allow them to run. So the mother was near the nest for all this time, feeding the nestlings.
Most modern reptiles abandon their young at birth. That dinosaurs were good mothers could be one reason why they flourished.